around
then you
them. It's
can't
like,
go
you
around
usually
them,
can.
and then you try to, and then they want to speed up and go real fast like it's a competition. And
My dad thinks it's hilarious because I'll be driving when I talk to him because I have this system in my car and everything. And I'll just randomly start shouting profanities in the middle of our conversation. And he just cracks up laughing. He's like, what?
yes,
There's a car going 5 below the speed limit.
like come on, there's nothing
It's
else
like,
out here.
I've been at the same stoplight for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've sat through many stoplights, not here, but. Are we good to go? Okay, hold on.
And if there's ever a wreck on the ridge, it pretty much shuts down one-way traffic.
It does, and you're
There's
stuck.
always an accident. Like every single day, they cannot drive. It was always a car accident.
I encourage you to go to Utah and then go to Jersey and then see if you have
I've been there. I'm from Philly, so we've been back and
So
forth.
you
It's
understand the
really
pain.
bad.
It's bad. It's
Utah
horrible.
wasn't too bad unless it rained.
Yeah.
Accidents
They
everywhere.
cannot drive in the rain.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, I think we're ready. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Are we good? Okay, so welcome to Breaking the Code to Federal Resumes and Jobs. So put on my recruiter hat, and if I tell you you get 10 federal holidays off, 13 sick days, you can pick a job around the world, even internationally. Hey, sometimes your move will be paid for. We'll give you incentives, and you have all this stuff. And on top of that, you're creating life experiences, life memories, all these good things. Who would want to sign up for it? Raise your hand. Me too. So that's the goal, is for us to have you have that leverage in order to apply for these jobs. I remember when I got out of the military, we were stationed at Luke, and I'm like, it should be easy to get a job. They told me in TAPS that they're looking for my military experience. They want me. I go apply on jobs, apply on USA Jobs, and I'm like, not referred, not qualified. I'm like, what is this? I did this exact same job in the military, applying for it as a civilian. What am I doing wrong? Hundreds of resumes later, hundreds of times I applied later, I was still getting not referred. And I'm like, this is garbage. Even some jobs when I was working in the HR office, I'm like, not referred. I'm like, what is going on? What's this magic code? What is this magic thing that's gonna make me hit that cert? That's our goal, is to show you how to hopefully hit the cert. Again, I can't make any guarantees, but I can definitely give you the tools and resources in this training today that's gonna help give you a better leverage, okay? So without that, let's get started. Okay, we always talk about what it is we want to be. What do you want to do? We get asked that question from the time we can speak. What do you want to be when you grow up? What is it that you want to do? What is this? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? What's it going to take to get there? For me, my experience, I changed that answer every other day. I was like, I want to be this and I want to be that. But you need to sit down and really, really think. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to be, especially in the federal system? Look at the positions they have, look at your skill set, look at where you really want to go, and look at the jobs that we have. I encourage you to look up the positions on OPM, look at the job descriptions and see if it's something that's really going to fit you. And then plot out where you want to see yourself. Plot out how you're going to get there. Is the decision that I'm making really going to support? Now, if I used to work at a university and I had this student come to me and his grades weren't the greatest and he was like, I want to be a doctor. And I'm like, you really need to look at your path. Maybe you should not set that goal. You can, but you also have to prepare yourself. So make your goals realistic and understand your skill set, what you want to be, what you want to do, and set your path, okay? And being realistic to your expectations, okay? All right, this is an example of a 5-year plan. And my biggest thing here is to show there's no excuse. And if you can't see the screen, in your folders, there is going to be a handout with this same brief. So you can follow through there. If you have kind of troubled vision like I do and need to see things a little more close up, you can look through that. And this is just a sample 5-year plan that was provided, Mr. Thomas Jefferson. His goal was to live with his parents and save up some money, go to college, maybe some college debt, become a college student, enroll in his degree, hang out, enjoy the single life, and then go from there. I can tell you here that you can help in joining the federal service up here versus waiting until you get down here from graduating school, okay? There are pathways, there are internships. We also offer tuition assistance. So the day you become a permanent federal employee, you can go over to the education office and say, hey, I would like to take some classes. Can I apply for tuition assistance? And they're going to give you the information. Okay, so there is no excuse. During this time of coming in a little earlier, you're going to build a work ethic. And the best thing, you're going to build network. You always hear that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So building that network, building that work experience to prepare you to get to your 5-year plan a little quicker or to set you on the correct path. Okay, so let's talk about how this all began. Mr. President Teddy Roosevelt said, hey, I'm putting a stop to all of this craziness going on in the federal government. In 1883, he created the Civil Service Commission, and that's really what OPM is today. He said, now we're going to hire people off of their merit. We're going to make it equal to all citizens, and it shouldn't interfere with how you believe politically. Previous to that, candidates were just bringing in their cousins and their brothers, whoever was going to support them politically, whoever they were friends with, and that's how they built, and that's how they were serving in the federal government. Mr. Roosevelt said that's not going to be anymore. And he was really the trailblazer for OPM and making sure employees are selected through competitive exam on a basis of merit. And it prevented employees from influence of political and partisan behavior. So that is a little history of the Federal Service. You can go to opm.gov and read all of that history. You can look up, and I encourage you to go there as well to look up standards on the different positions that we do have. Okay. This is a list of the positions we have that are our GS, what we consider our white collar positions, our administrative positions where you're going to see most of these individuals sitting in an office and a desk working. Okay, the highlighted ones can be direct hire. Now, just because they're highlighted, that doesn't mean that we have those positions here locally. We may have some of them, but it's not a guarantee that we have them all. This is really just an example of some of our white collar positions that we have. This is the pay scale. This is 2019's pay scale. 2020, the COLA is 2.86% here for Eielson. The goal is to let COLA continue going down and the locality rate go up. Now, when I was here in 2012, the locality was like 25%. So it's gone down significant from what it is today. But you'll see that the COLA rate continue to go down and the locality go up. And we have a pretty high locality rate. All right, and this is an example of our wage grade jobs, our blue collar jobs. Please note all of the wage grade jobs have a direct hire authority. So if you see these jobs out on our vacancy listing, you each should have a traditional and a direct hire. You'll notice the wage grade are listed all on our direct hire list. You'll be able to bring your resume into our office and apply for it there. They may be also advertised on USA Jobs, but they do have the direct hire authority on them, okay? But I do encourage you, you have to qualify for the position in which you're hiring, which you want to be considered for. Remember that last slide where we said, hey, realistic expectations. So if you've only done basket weaving, you can't say, hey, I want to be considered for an engineer. See what I'm saying? So you have to be realistic in what you're applying for as well. All right. And this is an example of our blue collar pay scale. It's in wage grade. You'll notice it's a little different from our GS pay scale. It only goes to step 5. All right, did anybody have any questions so far? Nope, we're all good? Perfect. All right, this is an example of our compensation package. It's more than just a salary. So remember when I had my recruiter hat on and I'm telling you how you get those 10 paid holidays off, you get childcare, you get to travel around the world, they'll pay for it, you get all these extra things. You get possibly, depending on the position, they may or may not be authorized, first duty station moves, PCSs. Much like the military, we go through the same process of PCSing. Recruitment incentives, if we have a really hard to fill position and you have a skill set that we need, there may be a recruitment incentive involved or a relocation incentive. If you're away, not just here, if you're going somewhere else, they might offer you a relocation incentive. And those incentives are always paid after you're onboarded. Okay, the PCSs are paid to get you there. All right. We also have this cool thing called superior qualifications. Now, working in the HR office, I see this all the time. I get a person and I'm like, hey, you've been selected for a job. And they say, well, hey, listen, I've been told I can negotiate my pay. And I'm like, yes, okay, now let's go. So with superior qualifications, you have to show your qualifications. You have to show your experience. You have to show it in examples. So when I have a resume, 2 resumes side by side, one is yours and one is your competitor, I have to be able to look in your resume and say, hey, this person has a skill set, has experience, has knowledge that this other person doesn't have. We really need this position filled. So, hey, we're going to bring you in at a step higher or 2 steps higher, depending on your experience and your knowledge. It doesn't go for everyone. Everyone who requests a superior qualification is not approved. We get it big in budget analysts. We have a lot of these positions. We have a lot of qualified applicants that come through. So it's really hard to say, I'm like, well, I can also hire this person at step 1 that has probably more experience. So it's really hard to validate. So if you want superior qualifications, please show your experience. Please show your examples. Please show your results to all of that work in your resume. Okay? Did anybody have any questions on the compensation packages? Nothing? Yes.
You didn't mention the student loan repayment.
Oh, yes. So the student loan repayment, we'll talk about that when we talk about the pathways and the interns and all that good stuff for students. But we do have that. But if you're not a part of those programs, we do have tuition assistance as well.
And does education replace experience? Or?
We're going to get to that. It's a combination of either or, and I'll show you where to look that up as well. All right. This is an extension of our recruiting incentives. You can get accelerated leave accrual, where normally as a new federal employee, you're going to get 4 hours per pay period. With the accelerated leave accrual, you can get 6 hours per pay period. We pay for your PCSs, recruitment incentive, relocation incentives, student loan repayments, and then advanced in higher rates. And those are newly appointed employees that may be approved for setting at the basic pay above the minimum rate, depending on your experience and obviously the position. And we talked about the superior qualifications with that. Okay, this is just an example of your career progression. And we always talk about, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? This just really shows and is an example of how your career can progress in the federal government. It's just kind of a tool for you to reference. But we just want to make clear that we're not just handing out jobs. We want to hand out careers. We want to see you grow. We want to see you flourish in the federal system. You just don't have to be, this is a great system that you don't have to be locked into just one job or one career field forever. You can expand and you can grow and move into different areas. So you can get a lot of experience that you normally wouldn't get in another setting. All right, recruiting sources, area of consideration. Now, when you go to USA Jobs, you're going to see, like, how am I able to apply? What buttons do I select? How am I going to make that cert? So these are some areas that we look at. When you see an announcement and it says internal, it's going to say it's open to Air Force employees only. So if you're not a current Air Force employee, what are your other options? We also have external. So you're going to see it where it has DOD and non-DOD employees, which means everyone can apply. If you have federal civilian employees or reinstatement, say you've been a federal employee before and you want to come back. VRA is Veterans Recruitment Appointment. VEOA is the Employment Opportunity Act. You can have 30% or more disability rating. So when you get out of the military and you go and have the VA review your medical records, and they'll give you a VA rating, 30% or more will enable you to qualify or to apply for any position across the board. Up to a GS 11, is it 11? Yes, for that. So you can say, hey, I noticed this position was open at your base. I want to be considered for direct hire. You're going to submit your resume. You're going to submit your VA rate letter, your DD-214, to that organization. And that's across the board. That's not just here at Eielson. So our non-appropriated funds is our NAF employees. Those are our services positions. Certain military spouses, individuals with disabilities. This DEO, so when you see a delegated examination, you're going to understand you can apply for direct hire, okay? All right, so I know we hear horror stories about the traditional hiring process when you apply through USA Jobs, and like, it takes forever. Well, kinda, not really, but kinda. So here's the process. We have a job, and it's posted on USA Jobs. It's posted there for about 7 to 14 days, depending on the job and how many people we get apply. It can be extended a little longer. Then the applicants apply until it's closed. The agency will screen for eligibility, and that's at AFPC. They'll screen it. And then they'll send us a list of the resumes and the certs. All right? Then we send that to the selecting official. We usually give them 10 days or so. Sometimes they take longer and longer, just depends. The agency is then going to scrutinize and validate the qualifications. And then once we say this is the person we want, they're going to issue you a tentative job offer, a TJO. And then we go through, if that's accepted, the pre-employment process. If it doesn't accept, it's going to go down the list to the next qualified applicant, whomever they selected, all right? So if you're number 3 in line, you're like, why is this taking so long? But just understand, local CPS, we're going to do your employment task. And then once that's all complete, we're going to send that back up to AFPC for them to issue a firm offer. And then the employee starts. That can take a long time. We love the direct hire process, all right?
Wait,
Yes.
with that process, I don't know if I missed it, is there no interview in that process?
So right here, when you get the resumes and surveys,
Okay.
the selecting official may interview. They don't always interview, so sometimes you'll say, hey, I got a job offer. No one called me. So yes, they will interview. They should be interviewing. We encourage them to interview, but I can't guarantee that you're always going to get an interview, okay? If you ever have any questions, there's a number on the side of the position that you applied for. You'll see it on the USA Jobs. And I always encourage you, if you apply for a job on USA Jobs, do a screenshot of that screen, just so you have all the information, or print out the vacancy announcement just so you can go back and resource. And there's a number there that you can call AFPC and ask them, like, hey, I qualify, why didn't I make the cert? And there's been cases where individuals have been added to the cert after the fact, but you have to call and see what happened, making sure everything you submitted at the time you applied, yes, you qualify, because they're human, they make mistakes too. So you can definitely ask. There's limited information that we're able to give you in the local CPS because we don't see the screening for that. So if you have any questions, we have to encourage you to call AFPC. Okay. All right, so the direct hire process. So what happens is you bring wage grade, anybody, bring your resume in. For the traditional, you have to be 30% or more to be considered for as a direct hire. So you bring your resume into us, and we screen it. We still screen it for qualifications. So we're still going to look and make sure you meet the minimum qualifications per OPM standard, per the KSAs on the PD, and we're going to make sure that you qualify. If we say, yes, this person's a good candidate, we're going to then send it to the selecting official. We encourage them to interview, and they will review it. They will interview you, cross our fingers, and say they select you. We go through this whole process, and we send your package directly to AFPC. And then they will go through and send your TJO to you. So it cuts out like 4 steps of this whole process. So it does go quite faster. All right. Schedule A is another hiring authority that we have. And Schedule A, please understand that we don't need to know your disability. We just need to know your approval for that disability. Okay, so we've gotten several letters that go through and they in detail what the person's disability is. We don't need to know any of that. Just you're approved for Schedule A. Schedule A can also apply for any of the positions, whether it's traditional or direct hire. Okay? And the same applies whether you're doing Schedule A or 30%. Just email it to our inbox and put direct hire in the subject line. Or you can drop it by our office, hand deliver it, just walk it right into us and make sure we get it. And we'll do that preliminary qualification screening and go from there. So this also talks about the disability, employment, individuals with disabilities. So again, please make sure that you don't list your disability in your Schedule A letter, okay? Does anybody have any questions? No, we're good. Another thing to add with the disabilities is the accommodation. So after your start, we do have individuals that we hire that maybe have back issues, so they need a certain type of chair, that has carpal tunnel or whatever, needs a certain type of keyboard. We do respect those accommodations, and we have a disability accommodations manager who will work with you to get everything that you need to make your experience great. All right, so we talk about that 30% or more veterans employment, being able to hire. You can go through the vacancy listing, traditional or direct hire, you'll be able to be considered for. But I must reiterate that you must be qualified for the position that you're applying for. I think sometimes the misconception is I can apply for anything, so I'm going to submit my resume for them all. Please make sure your resume supports the position in which you want to be considered and the realistic expectations. If you've, like me, I was an F-16 crew chief, never did any accounting, never did anything like that. It'd be crazy for me to go and say, hey, I want to be the new lead accountant. You have to be realistic. If you've done accounting, if you've gone to school for that, then great. Put that in your resume and make sure it expands and it shows. But if not, be realistic to say, okay, you're not considered. Don't come in and say, why wasn't I considered? Well, you have to have the experience and the knowledge to qualify you for that position. Okay? And again, this is just going over the local hire, direct hire process of being able to submit your package to USA Jobs or to our office locally. Okay, how many military spouses do I have in here? 1, 2, 3. Hello. Okay, so we get this question a lot. There's a lot of questions surrounding military spouse. I learn something about military spouse preference pretty much on a weekly, monthly basis. There's just something new you learn that you just didn't know. So the goal is to have the best qualified, well, the applicants are entitled to preference when they apply against an open announcement among the best qualified candidates eligible for referral. So that tells me that you can't use your military spouse preference with the direct hire system, okay? So it has to be an open announcement. And please reiterate, the best qualified means that the spouse's qualifications are equal to or higher than the lowest ranked candidate eligible for referral. Okay? The example given is you have 100 people may apply. 50 people, they don't qualify, cancel them out. Now you have 50 people that are qualified. Okay? But the cert can only hold 30 people. The goal is to have the spouse be among the best qualified individuals, and then you make the cert. Okay? You can self-nominate. So when you apply through USA Jobs, you're going to see the self-nomination. You can still claim this eligibility 13473 for non-competitive appointments. But there is an area where you're going to self-nominate. You're going to upload the orders. You're going to upload marriage certificate. If you don't have your marriage orders, you can get a letter from MPF that shows that you are with your spouse. And then you upload that with your application. Make sure all of that is uploaded with your application if you're going to select that preference. All right, so when you apply through direct hire, you will get an email, maybe not quite like this one, but just a notification that says, hey, your application's been received by our office. We'll give you a full day's. No? The goal is to make sure everybody gets this letter. So we do have a new team there that's specifically for direct hire only. So it's gotten a lot better. So you should be getting an email that says, hey, thank you for your package has been received by our office. We're going to forward it over to the staffer. They'll review it, and then we'll give you guidance. It's supposed to be emails for every step of the way. If you don't, give us a call, and we can let you know where your package is in the process. Normally, I can't give a timeline. Normally, we give the selecting officials about 10 days to look over their resumes and be able to make a decision. Sometimes they need longer, and sometimes it's just like immediate, like, yes, I'll take this person. They're qualified. I want them. But if you have any issues with direct hire, I encourage you to call our office and come talk to us. Okay. Now, I remember you talked about the Pathway Student Program. Here it is. So this is the student trainee, the intern program. You go off your appointment. You must be a student currently enrolled in college. It has to be a good approved program. Some of them you have to go on and pursue a graduate degree. So I have a candidate now who has just finished his bachelor's. He's part of this program, and he's going on, and he's showing us that he's going to go on and finish his master's degree. So he's in a developmental 7, target 9 position. So he's starting off at a GS7, and within 52 weeks, he's going to go to the GS9. You have to meet qualifications of the standard position. So your degree or your experience have to support where we're placing you. And please make sure you have to be in good academic standing. So you can't be a part of this program and not be a good student in academic standing. You can't say, hey, I went to class today, but you really didn't go to class. You went fishing and you didn't do any of your work. And then we're like, okay, listen, we have to take you out of the program because you don't have a high GPA. So just remember, you have to meet the requirements of the program that you are in. And again, like any position, you might be in a drug testable position. You might have to pass a physical examination to be considered for this position. We always do the background investigation, so you might have to have a secret, a top secret, or you can just have a basic background check, but you have to be able to pass that and obtain the clearance. Employment will be for full-time during the summer. So in this, you're working during the summer, you're getting your education, you're getting your experience, you're building your work ethic, you're building your network in that time, and then you go back to school and then come back and join us. Okay. Here's the Pathways intern programs. There's 3 different programs with this. You have your internship, you have your recent graduates, and then you have your presidential management fellow. The internship, you must be enrolled in an educational institution from high school all the way through graduate level. Recent graduates are individuals who recently graduated and must be within 2 years of degree completion. So if you're in the military now and you're like, hey, I'm finishing up my degree, when I get out, I'll be done. Please remember this recent grad, 2 years, and that's a question when you apply for jobs on USA Jobs. You do have to submit your transcripts with that, so that you can validate. And then you have your presidential management fellow. It's the developmental program for advanced degree candidates, individuals who have received a qualifying advanced degree within the preceding 2 years. Okay, so we go through talking about the vacancy listing. It's like, how do you apply for the direct hire jobs? One of the things that sets Eielson apart from other bases is we actually tell you what positions we have open. We're actually telling you, hey, we have all of these positions open, come here and apply. Now, when you go to other bases, they're gonna tell you everything we have is on USA Jobs. They're not gonna tell you when new jobs are gonna open, how long they're gonna be open, what they have coming or forecasted. We give you all of that information because we want you to be a federal employee, especially here at Eielson. If you go other places, that's okay, but we really want you here. And we have this website. We show you, hey, come look at our jobs. We update our vacancy listing. We even give you examples of the documents that are needed to have a strong package, your cover letter, a sample of the federal resume, what the Schedule A letter needs to look like, DD 214, your VA rating letter. All of this information we give you examples of so that you have the best possible leverage to apply, okay? So if you go to eielsonjobs.com, you can click here on NAF or APF. This is the non-appropriated fund, or APF, which is your GS wage grade positions. The cool thing is when you click on those, it's going to filter out and show you all positions that are for Eielson. You don't have to sift through all of those other positions that don't apply. It's going to show Eielson specific. You can also, this isn't an updated screen. Oh, here it is. You can also click on this and get a reference of the slides that you have today. So we give all of this information here. And 2, we give our number. Now I have to scour the internet for some of the CPO's office numbers sometimes, and sometimes I still can't find them. And I'm calling everybody's office like, hey, do you have the number to HR? Do you have the number to HR? I'm HR, can you get me to HR? And it's so frustrating. We're giving you all of that information. Here you go. That shows you that we want you to come in and talk to us. We want to prepare you for the future. We want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward when you apply for these jobs so we can say you're hired, come work with us, and have the greatest experience ever. Okay? Now, for those traditional jobs where you don't have that 30% VA rating or it's not on the direct hire list, you have to go through USA Jobs. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with USA Jobs because, again, remember all those hundreds of resumes that I applied to and all those jobs I applied for that told me I wasn't qualified, even though I knew I was. So this is kind of the hurdle that most people have to deal with is USA Jobs. So the first things first is building your account and your profile. All right, go through there, build your account, build your profile, and then you're going to come here and we're going to save some searches. Go through and look through the jobs that you want. Save you some searches, save it, and then you get notices of when jobs like that are going to announce or that are announcing currently. And this is just an example of what it's going to look like in USA Jobs. Okay? And it's going to show your saved searches, and then you'll get notices in your email when those positions populate or announce. This is what your saved searches is going to look like right here. So I encourage you to always look at, and I get these questions all the time, look at where the job is located. So you're going to see, well, this one right here is showing Eielson Air Force Base. A lot of the positions you're going to see, they have different bases listed. So you're going to see they have a position at Eielson, they have a position at Nellis, they have a position at Loop, they have a position, and you're like, where is this job at? You make the selection. Sometimes there's an opening there and sometimes there's not. So please make note of that. Also, look at the salary. Everybody always wants to come in at this far right number, the highest number. Please understand, as a new federal employee, unless you get superior qualifications, you're coming in at step 1. So your pay is going to be right here for this job, $37.31 per hour. Individuals look at that pay range and they're like, okay, I can come in, and they always say, I'm going to come in at this high side. No. So please understand, this is just showing you from step 1 for wage grade all the way to step 5. That's just the range. You can go in anywhere in the middle of that pay if you get superior qualifications. Okay? Look at the series and grade in the position. Okay? And this is just a save search. So if you go through and you're saying, hey, I like these jobs, I want to save them. Also make note of when the position is open. Don't wait until the 11th hour to say, I'm going to go in and apply for this job. Because USA Jobs has a way to just stop working on you. No, I'm joking. And you're like, where is my resume? How come it's not uploading fast enough? And then they go off Eastern Standard Time. So here, we're behind. So 12 p.m. when that job closes and you're still waiting for your resume to upload, prepare. So when you see it, prepare and apply for it when you see it open. Don't wait until the last minute, okay? I can't stress that enough. Please don't wait till the last minute to apply for these jobs. And that way you're better prepared and you can put the best resume out there. So we talk about our resumes. This is the resume library. The good thing about USA Jobs is you're able to go in and build several resumes. You can build target resumes that are going to be specific for each job. Say you have experience in different areas and there are different jobs out there. You can build your resume to show your one skill set. If it's strong in HR, you're going to put all your HR experience here. If I've done accounting before, I'm going to build a resume that's going to put my best foot forward for the accounting positions. You can do that, or you can just have one standard resume that has all of your experience in there. It's totally up to you. But this is where you can go and save. You'll see your application, how many you have, your saved jobs, and then your saved searches, and that can all be set up in your profile. Okay, so this is where it gets good. The basic qualifications, knowledge, skills, and assessments. This is where we get a lot of the questions. And when they say, I submitted my resume and they said I didn't qualify, I want you to always look at the knowledge, skills, and abilities in that position, all right? Please do not copy paste. Please, please, please do not copy paste all of this information here and put that in your resume. Expand on your experience. Expand on your skill set. Show your qualities, show your quantities, and show your results in your resume, okay? And then you're going to look at qualifications. You're like, is there ever a time where education would be a substitute, right? So you're going to go through here and look under the qualifications. Read the whole listing as you're looking for these job searches, okay? The basic requirement. This is for a club manager. If you need any specialized experience, it's going to tell you here. So some of them you're going to see them say, I need 1 year of specialized experience in order to qualify for this series and grade. Okay, so you don't always have to have federal experience to qualify. You can use your civilian experience, you can use your volunteer experience, you can use some of your education, because right here it tells me that I can use or education or a combination of education and experience. So combine that all together. Make sure your resume supports that, okay? Did anybody have any questions on the KSAs? Yes?
What if you don't have any experience and you're applying just with education?
Just by education alone, you can do that. But please remember, your education needs to support that position, okay? So we have say you have a person that has a master's in HR and they want to be a computer IT person. Do you think they can use their resume, their education to qualify for that position? So the education that you are using as the sole of your qualification needs to support the position that you're applying for. Okay, so if you got your master's in HR and you're like, hey, I want to go in the HR career field, then by all means, if this is the option that says or, you can qualify by education alone. But it has to support. We can't just put anyone. Remember, Teddy Roosevelt said we need to go off merit, off your skill set, make it fair. So we have to say, hey, we're putting this person in here because they do qualify. Okay?
And is it like certain grades you can go in if you have higher education, or?
Yes. So I think that's a few slides down, but yes, we'll go over that as well. Or it's right here. A GS5, 4 years, bachelor's degree. A GS7, if you're going off education alone, a GS7 is 1 full year of graduate. A GS9 is a master's degree. A GS11 is PhD. So you have to be able to show that experience. If you're saying, hey, I've got my education, this is the only way I'm going to qualify, that's the experience. Okay. But it also depends on the career field you're going into, because there's some that you have to have experience. There's some that you have to have a degree. Even though you have experience, some of them you have to have a degree as well, like your engineer positions, things like that. Okay, here's this knowledge, skills, and abilities again. And I cannot stress this enough. Do not copy paste. But looking at this, having the knowledge, skills, knowledge of methods, principles, practices. Look at your experience. This is a time for you in your resume to brag on yourself. We always have the responsibilities that we do, but we also have those real tasks that we do. Now, I know what the position says and what your position description says you do, but we always do 100 more tasks than what's on there. This is your time to put all of that stuff in your resume. Believe me, the more information, the merrier. We need that information to support. And this is what you were talking about right here. It's a bigger picture of the education in lieu of experience. And it just goes through what we just talked about as far as qualifying for positions. And this is just when you're using your education only to qualify for a position. Okay, so we talk about those KSAs, having knowledge, making sure you put all of your experience in there. And then you see this resume. Okay. So if you were hiring for an operator, welder, mechanic, would you hire this person just off of this information? Say no. No. I mean, it's nice, but this person is just telling me they operate this stuff. How long have they operated it? What skill set did they need to use? How do they troubleshoot? How do they apply that in an everyday task that they did? This is what we want to see. We want you to describe your experience in detail. Describe your responsibilities, the task that you accomplished, everything that you did. It needs to be in your resume. Describe what you were most proud of in terms of achievement. It's like, hey, I was able to save the company $20,000. Put that and show how you did it. Show your skill set. Show how you're using your skills to make your position that you're in better, okay? It's a time to brag on yourself, okay? And if you're still stuck, there's a resume here listed, topresume.com. You can go there and maybe get some assistance with your resume as well. Also, Airman Family Readiness Center here is a great help with assisting you. They're not going to write your resume for you, but they definitely will assist you in building your resume. And this is, again, can't stress it enough. Describe your experience. Give plenty of meat. Make sure you put all of this experience in here. Now, this is an example of an enlisted person's position description. And Mr. Ixie always says, take this information, put it in a Word document, and line through everything that you didn't do. Everything that you did, keep it there, and then add in all the extra stuff that you did. As we know, when we PCS as military personnel, each base, we can do the same job, and each base will have you doing something a little bit differently because of the location. Make sure you break down your positions on your base, your military experience, put each base there, because your experiences, your duties and tasks are going to be a little bit different at each base. So make sure you put all of that in there. The more information, the better. Overlap of experience, overlap of knowledge is okay. It's good. Okay, remember some of those jobs show you have to have 52 weeks of experience. If you were only at a base or doing a task for just a small amount of time, and then you went here and did it for a small amount of time, but you didn't put it in your resume, we can't say, okay, they have 52 weeks of experience. Okay, so make sure you put all of that information there. If it's repeated experience, it's okay. Make sure it's all in there. And again, make sure you're putting the duration and the time, hours per week that you did it, so that we can go ahead and say, yes, this person did this for 20 hours, they did this for 30 hours, and over a grand scheme, we can say, yes, they do qualify, they meet that time. Because again, it has to go through AFPC and pass through the gates of AFPC in order to deem you qualified, because they're going to look at the resume the same way and say, okay, do they meet standards? We have to make sure you meet the standards. This is just another example of a USA Jobs resume or an experience to show. Now, it's a lot of experience. It's big. That's just an example to show you that those little two-line resumes aren't really going to cut it. We can't really pull from your experience when you only have a limited amount of information. So the more information, the merrier. And you can also save these resumes, again, in the library, in USA Jobs. So go through, build your target resumes, build your mass resume, and keep adding to it every day. Have a journal with you at work and just write down new tasks, new things that you've learned, new things that you've done for the day, and be able to relay that in your resume. Because you should be growing and building every single day you're in your role. So as you're there, write down what you've done and make sure that you relay that in your resume, especially if you're in an active job search. Make sure you're going in there, adding that information in there so that your resume is the most up-to-date information. Sometimes you say, hey, I want to apply for this job, and you're like, man, this position, after looking at it back over, like, man, it really would have been nice if I had to put this in my resume. Go in there on a weekly basis if you have to, update the new experiences that you've done in your resume, and just watch it grow. So now we get to this point where you've got your resumes built. You've seen a job on USA Jobs that you want to apply for, and now you're ready. Again, don't procrastinate, all right? Deadlines are Eastern Standard Time, so please make sure you pay attention to the time frame and the date on which it closes. So you're going to go here, and you're going to apply, and it's going to ask you a series of questions. You're going to make sure if you're a military spouse, you're selecting those things, uploading the documents that you need. If you're a veteran, just getting out of the military, make sure you're selecting the right options for VRA or VEOA. If you qualify, make sure your DD-214 is up there. If you don't have it yet, there is an in lieu of DD-214 that you're able to put there. But if you're selected, we'll need that in order to bring you on. So just make sure you go there to apply for those jobs. And then I'm bringing you back to this IELTS and Jobs because I really want you to stay here. Although this information can be used across the board at any federal job or any base or any agency that you're going to, we want to make sure that we're filling the jobs here. We love IELTS and we love the community here, and we want to share it with you all. We want you to stay, whether you're new or you're thinking about getting out of the military. We want you to stay. And again, you can go here to IELTS and Jobs. Now we have 2 military members that I can see that are getting out of the military. And you see that 120-day eligibility there and the 180-day waiver. So in order to be considered for a competitive service, the member's date of retirement or separation must be within 120 days of the date you apply for the position. And that's if you separate. Now, if you retire, you're held to this 180-day waiver. Okay? So that means you have to wait 180 days, or we have to request a waiver in order for you to start. So just please make note of that. But I encourage you to go to USA Jobs, or to IELTS and Jobs, review our vacancy listing. You have a vacancy listing in front of you, but I promise you it's updating every 2 weeks or so. As we're building for the F-35 mission and preparing our civilian workforce for that, we're building jobs constantly. They're constantly coming on there. New jobs are coming on there. So if you see a job that's not there now, keep looking, because we might be classifying one that's going to be there the next vacancy listing. If you see anything that catches your eye, let me know. We'll see what we have, and I encourage you to bring your resume up to our office. I'll even walk you over with me, and so you can submit it for that position. It does go off, so first one in, they're going to review. If that person qualifies, then we're extending the TJO. So I encourage you to get your resume in, and don't wait. Don't sit on that. Much like USA Jobs, don't procrastinate. The same thing with the direct hire. Do not procrastinate. If you see it on there, bring in your package and let us review it, okay? And if you have any questions, we'll be there to help you. We have an amazing staff, a team. If one person can't answer your question, there's going to be somebody there who should be able to assist you. If we can't answer it, we're going to call somebody who can. So we'll get an answer for you. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if we went back into depth about the student loan repayment program. Is that something at the time where if they offer you the job, you ask if they have that program available? Because obviously every job.
You
is
can. So
different.
you'll see it. I don't know where it's at on here. You'll see it in the vacancy listing as well if that's going to be an option
Okay.
to do a student loan repayment back. Normally that's for the pathways positions or students, but if it's offered, you'll see it in the vacancy, in the announcement. If you have any questions of whether or not that position is going to offer it, then you can just call us and we'll let you know if that's an option. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Couple questions. So if I'm getting out and my terminal starts like 45 days before my actual separation date, does that 120 days, is that from my date of actual separation or when I would start terminal? Because if I could start work earlier.
So yes, that's a good question. I know how to answer it. Do you know how to answer that? Okay, I will let him answer it because I don't want to give you the wrong information. So,
The question is, the 120 days starts from your separation date, not from your terminal leave date. So you have to apply for that job within 120 days of your actual separation date. So the earliest you could apply for a federal job that you could get hired on would be 4 months prior to your separation date. If you're retiring, the earliest you could apply for a federal job without needing a waiver would be 180 days after
Out.
your retirement date,
yes,
not your terminal leave date.
yes.
Who is the approving official for the 180-day waiver?
We are. So when it comes through, when you apply for, say you apply for a job through USA Jobs, it's going to say, hey, 180-day waiver. We sign a notice that says, yes, we're going to accept this person and route the waiver. So the unit will prepare the waiver and we'll route it up for signature. So the unit is going to say, yes, we want this person. We're going to do the 180-day waiver. And they set all the paperwork out and route it for approval. It's not guaranteed, again. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that waiver and justifying that 180-day waiver. So, but it's not undoable. I've seen waivers come through and they've been approved. So I encourage you, if you want the job, I encourage you to still apply. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I noticed on USA Jobs that there are several positions that has different GS pay scales on it. And also, as far as the vacancy where it's located, it does post as if it's, Isleton. However, for example, there's let's say a budget analyst that's on this direct hire list. That's here. However, when I go on USA Jobs, there is a budget analyst with a different GS schedule for the same base. So is it good to assume that that position is no longer available? That's why it's not on that direct list, or?
No, so there's some positions that we have that will also be on the vacancy listing or direct hire that we will also announce. If we're not getting a large candidate pool of direct hire packets, then we're going to have to announce because we need that position filled. So you'll see them both. So I encourage you that if you ever have a question like that, say, hey, I'm looking at this budget analyst position. I see it on here, but I don't see it on here. Call us. Our numbers there say, hey, do you have this position open? And I can say for budget analyst, yes, we do. I have 2 positions right now. So if you're qualified, please come talk to me after so we can get your resume reviewed. But I encourage you, if you ever have a question like that on if a position is open at this base, just call our office and we will be more than happy to answer. Because I know USA Jobs can be confusing sometimes. You'll see a list of positions where they have, say, a budget analyst position. It'll be for several different bases, but it'll be one of those open-ended where it's open for like a year. And that just says, hey, if we ever need a budget analyst position, we can go and pull a list of the applicants who have applied for that job and then look at them and review and say, hey, this job is here in Alaska. Would you mind moving here? And so that's how that works. So you just have to pay attention to that open, close date, as well as the location. But, yes.
Yes, and can you apply for jobs in your field if you're in grad school?
You
You're finishing
can.
up grad school, can you apply, or?
You can.
You have to, so you can. 'Cause I remember seeing one job, it was like, I believe I read it correctly, it was like if you've done 5 months of grad school, you were able to apply? I'm not sure if I read it right.
Most of the jobs like that I've seen have been in like CE, where you have to have a certain degree or experience to qualify for a job. A lot of the engineering jobs or the technical jobs will have that. But I would have to see how it's worded in order to answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you have an example, you can show it to me, and then I might be able
Yeah,
better
I was
to.
looking for it. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Okay.
And the same thing, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna
Yes.
say the same thing back to her question, because she was saying as far as the pay scale, so it would be the same thing, we'll call your office if we see it on here, but we don't see it on USA Jobs.
Yeah, if you see it on here, and notice on the direct hire listing, there's going to be like a little asterisk, and it's going to say, hey, this person, there might be, it's on the vacancy listing until the person starts, because anything can happen. So if there's an asterisk next to that position, it's usually to annotate that somebody's been selected and that person's in pre-employment. It doesn't discourage you from applying for the job, but please understand it might not be an option for you. If you don't see it on the USA Jobs, most of the jobs that you'll see, sometimes they're on USA Jobs. They might not be listed on the vacancy listing because we've already announced it and the vacancy listing hasn't been updated to match. So if you ever have a question saying, hey, I saw this on USA Jobs, it's not on your vacancy listing, is this a valid position? Just call us and ask us. Because, I mean, we might have gotten the position announced before the vacancy list was updated. Yes, ma'am.
Do you guys save resumes, store resumes?
We do not.
So every time when, let's say for a position that's already or has that little asterisk next to it, if the person is waiting or you're in that process and you still submit your resume, do you guys hold on to that resume and keep it in mind that, okay, if another position like that comes along, I have another qualified candidate, let me pull their resume, or is that just something that?
At this time, the policy is we don't stockpile the resumes. So if you still see it on there and you don't see that asterisk next to it, resubmit your resume and say, hey, I would like to be considered for this job. Now, again.
Okay, and then my other question would be, you know, in line with what the gentleman in front was speaking about, you know, you spoke about, you know, the Air Force is a great place, or the, you know, working in the government's a great, you know, you gain skill sets, you gain all these wonderful things. However, if I wanted to go for a human resources job, where I've been working for 20-something odd years, and I wanted to transfer over, do you guys use transferable skills for another position? Or, knowing that you haven't really been working in that new position for that long, you know, that time, do you guys use those transferable skills?
We do, as long as your resume shows your skill set and the position that you want to transfer into, and your resume supports that, we do. So, but we'll talk after. We'll answer some more in-depth questions.
If I may, this would be a time for a shameless plug.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
We teach the federal resume writing course here at Dearman and Family Readiness Center. The next class is going to be on July 30th. So these questions, she's going into the whole aspect of federal employment. That class is from 10 to 12 on that Thursday, is just about writing that resume, disassembling the job announcement, and tailoring the resume to fit the job announcement. So.
Yeah. Encourage you all to go to that class. There's a lot. I mean, I work in HR, and I feel like I have a good standing and understanding of how this whole process works, and I still am like, not referred, what is this? What is going on? So it's always nice to make sure your resume supports what you're applying for, and make sure on USA Jobs you're looking at all of these qualifications. And if it says something as simple as a secretary position says you need to show that you can type 40 words per minute, that needs to be annotated in your resume, or else APC can come back and say, hey, we need this as a qualification, and they don't have it, so they're not qualified. And that's happened before to me. So I understand, and I can tell you that it does. So you have to pay attention to what you're putting in your resume, making sure you're reading the announcement and understanding what's required in that, and making sure it's in the correct format for AFPC to be able to review your qualifications. Okay, any more questions? No? Okay. I think we are done. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you got, if you have additional questions, please come by. I would love to see everybody's resume package up in our office so that we can review. We have a lot of positions to fill, as you can see from the vacancy listing. And we want those filled, because the more positions on there means the more work that we have to do. And I'm tired. So I need these positions filled. Okay? Welcome to Alaska. If you're just getting here, I hope you enjoy it. Take part in the beautiful weather. As you can see, the darkness is slowly approaching on us, so we have to enjoy all the daylight we can. But if you have any additional questions, I'll stay around and answer them for you. If not, thank you so much for coming, and I hope this helped you in preparing for your federal career. Thank you.